दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यभिमः योगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ नमः श्रीशङ्करानन्द गुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने सविलासमहामोह ग्राहग्रासैककर्मणि Fifth verse. Suktothitasya saushukta tamo bodho bhavet smritihi sachava buddha vishaya avabuddham tattada tamaha. So, Jivatma Swarupam has been discussed now, and we are saying for this the Avasthatraya analysis has been taken up, and Vidyaranya is establishing the Swarupa of Jivatma logically. Of course, that logic has a basis in Shruti, but he is taking a help of a logical analysis, and definitely he proves what is the Swarupa of a Jivatma. And in this Avasthatraya we have already discussed two avasthas, Jagrata Avastha and Swapna Avastha. And we have seen also, one minute.
Everyone should mute, right, Swamiji?
Yeah, I muted everyone. And so there are four things in every avastha. There is an object of perception, then there is perception, and then thought and consciousness. Four things are there. In every stage, in every state of experience, let's say, well, if four things are there, then why you are saying three? Why you are saying different three avasthas? Let there be only one avastha. Yeah, that's correct. But then object of experiences are of different nature. In waking state, object of experiences are made up of 5 elements. Whereas in the dream state, object of experiences are just in the form of thoughts. And therefore, definitely they are different than objects are different. If objects are different, the thoughts also would be different. And the perceptions would be different. And therefore, basically, even though consciousness is one alone in both the states, since the objects vary and accordingly perceptions also vary, therefore we definitely tell there are two different avasthas. And same way the third avastha also we are going to discuss now. So, here Vidyaranya says in the fourth verse, Tad Vedaha Atastayoho Samvid Ekarupana Vidyate. So, tad vedah, atah tad vedah. Therefore, definitely there is tayoho vedah between this avasthayoho vedah. Well, there is a difference between these two avasthas. Samvit ek rupa na vidyate. This samvit, which is ek rupa, which is homogeneous, which is uniform, well, does not differ between both the states. The consciousness who undergo the experiences in the waking state is the same in the dream state also. Now here in the verse number 5, there is a discussion on deep sleep state. He wants to cover up that thing also, and so he wants to say the same consciousness continues in this avastha also. And here also definitely 4 things are there. So it looks in Sushupti there is nothing, but he says there are 4 things. What 4 things? First is the object of perception. It is there. Then definitely perception is there. Then thought is there. And consciousness is there. Because perception is nothing but the thought plus consciousness. And therefore definitely thought also should be there. If perception takes place, thought should be there. If thought is there, object should be there. Because definitely thought cannot be without the object. And therefore object has to be there. Accordingly, the thought will be, the thought will be formed. It's just a modification of mind. And the mind, takes a form of an object. That is the thought. And therefore, definitely, the object also should be there. And thought also should be there. Perception should be there. And consciousness also should be there. All the 4 things are there in deep sleep state. Even though we feel there is nothing. In the Sushupti, there is nothing, and that's how the logicians say that the Atma is basically Jadaha. Atma is not a consciousness. Atma is inert. Because in Sushupti, if Atma is consciousness, well, you will experience the Atma in the deep sleep state. But you are not able to experience. There is nothing, there is blankness. So therefore Atma must be of the nature of inertness. Then how can it become conscious in the waking state? Well, because of the association with the mind. Mind has also resolved, and therefore definitely Atma becomes Jadaha. When in waking state, when the mind wakes up, mind gets manifested, then Atma unites with it, and then it becomes conscious. That is how the Nayayika believes. And therefore, anyway, so logicians are most illogical people, So this is how they prove that basically there is Atma is Jada. That's what Nayayika says. Anyway, but we don't experience like that. So we are going to prove the consciousness is there. So how to prove? All the 4 are there. You cannot prove because Pratyaksha is not, the senses are absent. Senses are resolved. And therefore you will have to take help of inference. That's a next means of knowledge you have. Right? If perception doesn't work, then what is the means of knowledge for you? Inference. And therefore inference, well, of course, that also after waking up, you have a memory. And from memory you infer. Basically, inference is based on perception. If perception is absent, then how can you infer? If you don't see even the smoke, if you can't see the smoke, suppose my eyes are not functioning. If I cannot see the smoke, how will I infer fire? And therefore, inference definitely take help of pratyaksha. So if senses are not functioning, how will you infer? But because after waking up, I have a memory, and from that memory I can infer something about deep sleep state. So that is how we say that. So yatra yatra smrutihi tatra tatra purvakalika anubhavaha vartate. Yatra yatra smrutihi. Wherever there is a memory, definitely there must be an experience in the past. There must have been experience. I must have experienced the object in the past. And so vice versa is not true. Whatever I experience, I need not remember. And I don't remember also. But whatever I remember, that thing I must have experienced in the past. Could you follow what I am saying? So whatever I remember, that I must have experienced in the past. Whatever I experience, I don't remember everything. That is the situation. Anyway, so in Jagrata Avastha, when I remember the sleep experience, then I must have then I can think of all the four factors that I had undergone a perception. We'll see what are the things, but I had undergone a perception during the deep sleep, and then there was the object of perception, definitely, and then there was definitely a thought, because perception is made up of two entities. One is thought, one is consciousness, and therefore all the four things must have been there that I could say from when I get up, and from that memory of what? Memory of the deep sleep state. And well, memory of the deep sleep state proves that definitely I had undergone an experience. If memory is there, I must have undergone an experience, and therefore definitely in the past, and that is past means the deep sleep state, and therefore definitely all the four things are there. If experience, when you say experience means everything has come. Experience means thought will be there, then object also will be there, then consciousness also will be there, and the very experience itself. And therefore all the four things are there. Experience or perception, same thing here. Anyway, and now tell us what are the four factors. That's okay, but what is the object of experience in a deep sleep state? Tamaha, tamaha, ignorance. And ananda also you can take. Ananda also, you experience ananda in deep sleep state. So ignorance, let's take right now, because Vidyaranya Swami ji takes here tamaha. So ignorance. Ignorance is the object of experience or perception. And the knowledge of ignorance is perception itself, right? So you have a knowledge of ignorance, that's a perception. And definitely perception has taken place, then definitely thought must have been there. And therefore the thought also is there. And what is the object of that thought? That same thing. Why? You are having a perception of a ignorance in the deep sleep state. Then what is the object of the thought? Tama, ignorance itself. Ignorance is the object of the thought. Perception of ignorance is equal to thought of ignorance plus consciousness. Now clear? So, well, definitely object of thought is ignorance. And it is very subtle vritti. We'll discuss that thing. And that takes place in a karana shariram, because subtle body, generally all the vrittis take place in a subtle body, that's in mind. But here subtle body is absent, and therefore this vritti, which is subtler than even the vritti, takes place in the mind, subtler than that, because karana shariram is more subtle than even this karyam, subtle body, and therefore it is so subtle, that vritti. But which vritti? Ajnana vritti, avidya vritti, or the thought which has object, ignorance. So that also should be there, and consciousness also should be there. So experience can't be possible otherwise. Without object of experience, without the thought, without the consciousness, the experience or the perception cannot take place, and therefore all the four things are there. And so when you get up, you say, I did not know anything. I had experienced, I have enjoyed the sleep. So I got a joy during the sleep, whatever you say. Naham kinchid avedisham, sukhamaham asvapsam. I slept well, sukham. I slept well, I slept happily. And naham kinchid avedisham, aham kinchid na avedisham. I did not know anything in the deep sleep. Means ignorance. You have experienced ignorance. So definitely when you get up and when you wake up, definitely you say that, and therefore we should say that, well, you have undergone a perception, because the smriti is there in the waking state. Smriti is, please understand, I am telling you now again the steps. Smriti is possible only when there is an experience in the past. Without that there is no smriti. If experience takes place, the thought should be there, and the object of thought should be there. Thought should be there. Consciousness should be there. Without consciousness, no experience can take place. And therefore, everything is there. The very experience should have existence. And then experience means a thought should be there. Then object of thought should be there. And consciousness should be there. Okay, all the four factors are there. So, proven. So, it's a very subtle vritti. The thought is very subtle, because it takes place in a karana shariram. And therefore, karana shariram is basically unmanifest. And therefore, you are not able. What is unmanifest? I have already told you when we were discussing in Tattvabodha. Whatever is unmanifest, you will not be able to experience. You feel it is absent. You feel it is absent. As I given you example of a butter, if you remember. In yogurt, butter is there. And in a 5 kg yogurt is there. Big. Here in America, big. Huge, this one. No, dibbas. Huge dibbas. And 2-3 dibbas are there in the refrigerator. And she is shouting. She wants to make pav bhaji. And she says that she doesn't have butter. And she tells her son to bring the butter. And that fellow doesn't, he is so lazy, he doesn't want to go out. And so but very smart. Lazy and smart. And so he opens the refrigerator and tells, Mom, right here there is a butter. Where is it? And she picks up even that yogurt dibba also. Where is it? There is no butter. Yeah, it is there. Unmanifest in the yogurt. What is unmanifest? You take it as absent. That is how it is. And therefore, that is how during deep sleep you feel that there is no thought. Don't think so. I have given you answer. Yesterday I told you I will give you answer today, tomorrow. So, it takes place in the Karana Shariram. Karana Shariram is unmanifest. No, Swamiji, Karana Shariram is not unmanifest. You are experiencing ignorance. That unmanifest becomes manifest, then you experience. You experience ignorance where? In the form of thought. Right? In the form of thought you are able to experience during waking state, I am telling. During waking state, you are experiencing even ignorance. You are telling, oh, I don't know this. You shrug your shoulders in the American style. You shrug your shoulders. I don't know like that. Anyway, so basically, and therefore, that's a manifest. Because you have woken up. So mind is awake. And it is manifest, and therefore thought also is manifest. So what is unmanifest can become manifest and then you experience. What is unmanifest can never be experienced. Can never be experienced. Could you follow what I am saying? And therefore, during deep sleep state, a vritti or the thought takes place in a Karana Shariram. You will not be able to experience. And therefore, when you wake up, definitely you have that memory based on the experience of the deep sleep state, and so you say, during deep sleep state, I did not know anything. So means I have experienced ignorance, and therefore that experience has a thought has an object is that ignorance, and therefore consciousness is required for experience, and therefore consciousness also is present. Okay, so I definitely, this is how. So consciousness is there, which is inferred. When you wake up, then you can definitely experience, from the smriti you go to the experience, and experience proves consciousness, and therefore consciousness is inferred. Consciousness was present in the deep sleep state is inferred from the smriti in the waking state. Okay, let's now go to the verse. Suptothitasya suptaha utthitaha. So it is a very typical kind of a compound. See, both are the adjectives for the person. Suptaha means one was woken up from, suptaha means who has slept. Utthitaha, who has woken up. So we have to write this compound like this. Purvam suptaha pashat utthitaha. Purvam suptaha. He slept before and now woken up. Pashat utthitaha. Later he woken up. He has woken up. So that for that person, these two are the adjectives. Suptaha and utthitaha both apply to the person. But you have to write like this. It's a typical kind of a compound, samasa. And this is called Visheshana Ubhayapada Karmadhara Samasa. For people who are interested, for other people, just ignore it. So, and there is, even though generally adjectives, I would like to tell you, adjectives are all simultaneous. Like Neelam Utpalam and Neelam Mahat Utpalam, let's say. Neelam Mahat Utpalam. Utpalam means, you know very well, that is lotus or a lily, let's say, lily. So Neelam and Mahat. Neelam means blue lily, blue. and Mahat means big. So blue, big lily. Now here there is no chronology. Could you follow? In the adjectives. It is not like that first you have to write Neelam, because first that thing happened. First it has become blue and later it became big. No, 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 no. Not like that. So whenever all the adjectives generally are, when they apply to the substantive, they are all simultaneous. But here, even though both are adjectives for the person, suptaha and utthitaha, but you have to take in a chronological order. First he slept and later he woken up. Barabar? So this is how it is. So here we will have to take that way. And that person has a smriti, has a memory. So it says suptothitasya, just go to the end of the line. Smritihi bhavet. Suptothitasya smritihi bhavet. The person who has slept and now he is one who has woken up has a memory, recollection. Oh, recollection means definitely the collection has taken place before. That is how recollection. Now, so already collection has taken place. Collection means experience. Experience has taken place. What is the memory? Well, memory is tamo bodha. He has a memory of the deep sleep state. What is that? Well, he himself says, I did not know anything. Tamo bodha means he has experienced the ignorance. That memory he has now. Now means what? In waking state. And if you see that Vidyaranya uses Shaushupta Tamobodha. Saushupta Tamobodha. Ignorance you are experiencing during waking state also. Right? Waking state also you are experiencing. So he says Shaushupta Tamobodha. Sushupta Kalinaha Tamobodha. So Sushupta Kalinaha. This ignorance, during deep sleep state, he has experienced that ignorance. That ignorance, now he remembers it. He recollects it. That during deep sleep state, I have experienced ignorance. And Sacha Avabuddha Vishaya, he is giving a rule here. Vidyaranya is giving a rule. Sa means Smriti. Smriti is Avabuddha Vishaya. You can write independently also. Smritihi Avabuddha Vishaya Bhavati. This is a rule. So, Smritihi Avabuddha Vishaya, object of memory is identical with the object of past experience. Object of memory is identical with the object of past experience. I have memory of so and so person right now, suppose. Then definitely I must have experienced same person in the past. That's all. Simple. So, yatra yatra smritihi tatra tatra purva anubhava tatra tatra purva kalika anubhava vartate. Anubhava itself will give rise to smriti. Anubhava janya smritihi. Anubhava janya smritihi. I'm sorry. Anubhava janya smritihi. So, anubhava will definitely give rise to the smriti. And therefore, sacha avabuddha vishaya, sa smritihi, that's memory, got the same object which was experienced when in deep sleep state. And what is remembered object? Tamaha. And therefore, in deep sleep state also, what object he has experienced? Tamaha. Right? So, object of memory is identical with the object of deep sleep state. I have a memory of one person and experience another person. No, that's not. Object of memory is always identical with the object of past experience. And therefore, so remembered object is tamaha, ignorance, or ananda also, definitely. Then definitely what you have experienced in the deep sleep state, those objects are only two. Either ignorance, either ananda. Ananda also will be in the form of vritti. And you know very well that priya vritti, moda vritti, pramoda vritti. In deep sleep, even in dream, it may happen. It may happen also. And in deep sleep state also, you know, you sometimes your sleep is such, you feel that when you get up, there are varieties of the sleeps, I think. Because sometimes you sleep for half an hour. But as if you become so fresh, and sometimes you sleep for 8 hours. But still when you get up, you feel, that you have not got a proper sleep. And therefore, so during deep sleep state also, I think what you experience in terms of ananda also varies, it seems. And therefore, priya vritti, pramoda vritti, moda vritti is there. Anyway, so two objects are there in deep sleep state. Four things, right? Object, thought, perception, consciousness. What is object? What are objects? Well, ignorance and happiness. Priyavritti either. And then what is the thought? Thought will be of that object only. So therefore tamavritti or anandavritti, priyavritti, etc. And what is perception? Perception of ignorance, perception of ananda and consciousness. All the four things are there, like dream state, like waking state. And then he says, avabuddham tat tada tamaha. Tamaha avabuddham tat. Tat means tasmat, tada sushupti kale. Tasmat means therefore, tada means sushupti kale. At the in the deep sleep state, tamaha avabuddham, ignorance had been object of experience. Avabuddham, ava plus buddha dhatu is there. Ava plus buddha dhatu. Buddha dhatu's meaning is to know. Avabuddha means also the same thing. To know, to experience, to perceive, all these are the meaning. Avabuddham, so which is known, perceived, etc. Cognized, etc. So tamaha avabuddham. So what you have perceived, tamaha, ignorance is perceived. Ignorance had been the object of experience. And well, so and the consciousness is the same in all the three states, because we have already proved in Jagrat Avastha whatever consciousness is there, consciousness is there, the same consciousness continues in dream state, the same consciousness continues in deep sleep state also. So all three avasthas are threaded now. All the three are threaded. By what? By one consciousness. Correct? One consciousness present in all the three states. So in Sushupti also the thought is there, but it's of a different type compared to dream state and waking state. I club together the a thought. So far as thought is concerned, a dream state and a waking state both have a one type of a thought, and in a deep sleep state is a different type of a thought. Means, well, in Jagrat and Swapna, that is in these two states, well, definitely I can tell I have a sthula vritti. I can definitely tell like that. I have a sthula vritti. Sthula vritti means comparatively gross compared to deep sleep state. And in a deep sleep state, I have a sukshma vritti. So in active mind, well, sthula vritti, and in a dormant mind, sukshma vritti takes place. And therefore, I don't feel that experience at all during deep sleep. And but I definitely had undergone experience. And why you have undergone experience? Why are you saying? Because I have a memory. So memory always proves that I had a past experience. So this is how we will have to take it. And then vritti takes place, because in deep sleep state you are telling mind has resolved. Yeah, mind has resolved. Then where vritti takes place? In a karana shariram. Let's go to now verse number 6. Sabodho vishayad binnaha nabodhat sapna bodhavat evam sthanatrayepi eka samvittad baddhinantare. I think we should take perhaps sthanatrayepyeka. Anyway, so sabodha, the consciousness, bodha means here consciousness. So it's very, in Shastra, bodha word is used for knowledge also, bodha word is used for consciousness also. So the consciousness, sabodha, sahabodha means that consciousness which is there in the deep sleep state. That consciousness is vishayad binnaha. That consciousness is basically associated with the avidya vritti, associated with the thought of ignorance, and appears again as a perception, But that consciousness itself is not perception, definitely. To be perception, consciousness is not enough. You need a thought, because thought plus consciousness is perception. Therefore, alone consciousness cannot be perception. And therefore, consciousness associated with avidya vritti. Now I will not again tell, object of, thought of ignorance, etc. Consciousness plus avidya vritti, is equal to perception of ignorance, experience of ignorance, where in deep sleep state. So, it is associated with that, and therefore definitely if you want to know whether the consciousness is present or not, where you have to separate it where, how? Physically? No, you do a discrimination in your mind that, avidya vritti, and avidya vritti has two things. There is a vritti and there is a avidya, ignorance. Ignorance is object, vritti means a thought. So basically, consciousness is distinct from the object called avidya and distinct from the thought also. Consciousness is distinct from the thought and the object of thought. That's how it is. We have segregated like that in a waking state. When we discuss waking state experiences, even though four things are there, we have said to segregate. We are interested in consciousness. Other things are all mithya. And therefore consciousness, basically, you want to arrive at a consciousness, whether it is there in deep sleep state or not, you separate. Because perception is there. Perception has definitely a thought. And if thought is there, object also will be there of the thought. And therefore, consciousness is separate from the thought and the object of the thought. That's what he is telling here. Sabodha vishayat binnaha. This consciousness, that consciousness that is there in the deep sleep state, is distinct from binnaha, distinct from vishaya, the object, and definitely distinct from the thought also. If object is there, thought also will be there. So tamorupa vishayat chaitanyam binnam bhavati. Tamorupa vishayat, then definitely it is distinct from this object and the thought, both. So that chaitanya is separated from this sushupti vritti itself, and that chaitanyam is what? Na bodhat. So that chaitanyam is not basically, is not distinct from itself. The chaitanyam that is present in the deep sleep state is not distinct from itself, which is present in the waking state or present in the dream state. I will repeat once again. The consciousness which is there in a deep sleep state is distinct from the thought in the deep sleep state and object of thought in the deep sleep state. That's correct. But that consciousness is not distinct from the consciousness that is present in the dream state. And that consciousness, of course, in dream state is distinct from what? Distinct from dream objects and dream thoughts. This is how it is. So the consciousness is identical between both the states. How will you know? By segregating it from objects and from the thoughts. But how will you say, Swamiji, consciousness is distinct from the thought? I have given you 5-point program yesterday. And therefore, if you remember, you should remember that thing, right? Consciousness is not a part of the thought, is not a product of the thought, is not a property of the thought. I have told you, it is independent of the thought. Everything I have told you, and therefore I need not have to tell you again, right? And therefore, so let's just temporarily we have to temporarily remove. Take perception, the experience of a deep sleep state, and remove. Remove means intellectually or discriminatively you remove object and thought. And compare now that consciousness with the dream experience. In dream experience also objects are there, thoughts are there. So there also you segregate, and then you find, basically the consciousness is not distinct. In a deep sleep state, the consciousness in a deep sleep state is not distinct from the consciousness that is in a dream state. That is what he is telling. Sabodha vishayat binna. Definitely the consciousness that is in a deep sleep state is distinct from the object and thought of the object or the thought as such. Na bodhat binnaha. Na bodhat. Na means it is not distinct from itself. Sapna bodhavat. So definitely that consciousness is identical with the same consciousness in deep sleep state is identical with the consciousness in dream state. And therefore, basically, both are basically, ultimately, every perception has a name and form, right? Thought has means what? A name and form. Object is there, object means name and form. Then thought also pertaining to the object. So thought is also name and form. And therefore, consciousness is there. And therefore, every perception has a name and form. It may be a dream perception, dream experience, or a deep sleep experience. Both have a names and forms. And therefore, remove names and forms. That's all it means. Remove names and forms intellectually. Like you have a bangle and you have a chain. So, you want to arrive at what is common in both, what is identical in both, then you definitely remove intellectually name and form. That's all. And therefore, name and form is removed means object is removed, thought is removed intellectually or discriminatively. Then you will find there is a consciousness which is one alone. Without name and form, you cannot distinguish consciousness in between the two states. It is one alone. The distinction takes place in perception, and perceptions are distinct in both the states. Experiences are distinct in both the states, but that is due to thoughts, that is due to objects, not due to consciousness. And therefore, basically, all these anubhavas, I mean Jagrat, Swapna, etc., all these anubhavas are there, vrittis are different, but consciousness is a common factor. It is a cognitive process. What I am saying is it's a cognitive process. Paying attention to, rather than paying attention to the perception, pay attention to the factor which is common in all. And in every perception, a common factor is a consciousness. That's all. Every perception is nothing but a thought plus consciousness. And thoughts are varying, right? We have seen that thoughts are varying. Thoughts are of various types, thoughts are many, everything, but consciousness is one alone, whether it is a deep sleep state, whether it is a waking state, whether it is a dream state. So, these Jagrat experiences and the waking experiences and this deep sleep experiences are different, but the consciousness is identical. And experiences are different because the thoughts are different. Thoughts are different because the objects are different, right? So objects are different, and therefore it's simple to understand ultimately, and therefore it is called upadhi. What happens is, we feel that perceptions are different, and therefore basically even the consciousness may be different because the names and forms are called upadhi. And when consciousness associates with a particular thought, and definitely then the thought as such imposes on consciousness its own dharma. So upadhi, they are called upadhis. Upadhi means upasamipe sthitva asiyam rupam anyatra dadati is called upadhi. And therefore upadhi which brings a seeming difference. Please understand. Seeming difference in a non-different entity, in an identical entity. That's called upadhi. So which is closer. Upa means which is closer, and transfer its own dharma to a entity which is really non-different, which is identical. So that is how upadhi makes a difference. That is how even a chain and a bangle, we say they are different. Definitely everyone says they are different, even though, so the name and form, because of the name and form, the one thing alone, even though it is identical, it's one thing in uniform thing, but yet we say it is different. So name and form is called upadhi, which is very closer to that non-different entity, and it creates a seeming differences in that non-different entity. So this is how it is. So which is closer to something, and seemingly transfer its attributes on other is upadhi. It does not really transfer the attributes. Otherwise, the Atma really becomes a waker. Atma becomes a dreamer. Atma becomes a deep sleeper. but the consciousness remains I'm free from all these attributes. That shows that all these varieties of the perception, the thoughts are there, objects are there, they are upadhi, they are very close to the consciousness, they are non-separate, you know very well. So they are very close to the consciousness, and as though they seemingly transfer their own attributes to the consciousness, and that is how consciousness looks as though different. So waker, dreamer and deep sleeper, we feel they are all three different entities, but they are not different entities. If you look closely, you will find there is one consciousness which is there in all the three states. So this is how we understand it. So here it says evam, evam. Now Vidyaranya wants to conclude because all the three states are discussed. So Vidyaranya concludes in this manner now. Evam means in this manner. Sthanatraya api, sthanatraya, avasthatraya. In all the three avasthas, samvit eka, samvit eka. Samvit means I have already told you it is consciousness. Well, it is eka, there is no difference in consciousness in all the three states. And tadvad dinantare. So we have taken one day and we have analyzed all the three states in a one day. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. Then he says now dinantare. Anyat dinam dinantaram. Then next day also they will be the same. So consciousness today, which is there same in all the three states, will be the same tomorrow also. Day after tomorrow also. And day after tomorrow also. And day after tomorrow also. He wants to prove something. Consciousness means chit. Now he has to prove what? It is sat. And therefore he has to prove that it is all the time existent, uniform, no vikara, no change, etc. And so chit is sat, he is going in that direction now. Anyway, so avastha traya eka, so in all the three avasthas there is no difference at all. Even considering these medical people, the physical body is all, is totally different. They say 12, somebody says 7 years, somebody says 12 years, whatever it may be. Let's say 12 years. So in 12 years, the body has totally changed. All the cells and everything has changed. All cells are replaced. Anyway, but still you say that, that boy who studied in the school, that I is studying now Vedanta. The boy who studied in the school, that boy, that is I, studying the Vedanta right now. Now in the school means 50 years ago. And means 50 years, whole body is totally changed. All the cells are replaced. Even everything has changed. Not only just body, everything has changed. And hair at the end, everything. Even our ragadveshas are changing. Internally also all the changes have taken place. Everything. Our taste and everything has, our likes, dislikes, all have become different now. But even though you are able to say that, I am the one who is right now studying this Vedanta, who has studied in so and so school 50 years ago. Means what? Even though the body, mind, everything has totally now changed, there is some continuous factor is there which can tell that conscious entity is same in all the avasthas. Balyadishvapi jagradadishu tatha sarvasva avasthasapi vyavrittasu anuvartamanasam. Anyway, so what I am saying is now that body of a child who studied in the school is not available, and then there must be some distinct entity which has not undergone any change, and that is you, the consciousness. That's me, and therefore tadvad dinantare means he is taking here another day. Another day means another three avasthas. Again consciousness will be the same. Then another day. So after 50 years also it will be the same thing. And that your own experience proves it. That I am the one who studied in the school is now studying this Vedanta, etc. So Vedanta of course talks about Shukshma Shariyam. The scientists only talk about physical body. They don't accept mind, etc. So for them it is only brain, mind. They don't accept. So everything is replaced. And like second-hand car, sometimes people buy second-hand car and they become happy that they have bought at a very cheap price. But later on every part is replaced slowly. And therefore, after 2 years, the person feels I would have bought a new car, because ultimately everything is changed, including the door and horn and everything. Everything has to be changed. One by one goes, and therefore, so you say now you say it, even though it is a second-hand car, but you have spent so much of money, almost more than even for buying a new car. Anyway, it's the same way here also. Everything is replaced in the body. Between 50 years, everything is replaced here. But the person who drives this car, basically this person, he is the same person. The conscious being is same. That's all. Consciousness does not undergo any change. That's what I want to convey. Everything is continuously changing. And there is one which does not undergo change. That's all. So if you take a human life is of experiences, varieties of experiences, in the experiences, one component is all the time changing, and the other component is never changing. And that is the Sakshi. That's how we call it as a Sakshi. Sakshi of all the experiences. Experiences has varieties of the thoughts, varieties of the objects that keeps on changing. And but this consciousness, another component of experience never changes. That's our own experience. And therefore, what I am saying is the whole body has undergone a change, and therefore that is how Bhagavan also said, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara dehinaha asmin dehe dehinaha. Even though the deha undergoes the jara, etc., all this, but this dehi remains same. And this neurological and medical science, tries to struggle to find an answer. What is this consciousness? They are really struggling. And this consciousness basically, not consciousness as such, but the conscious. That word in English is used as an adjective. You know very well. Like you say, this person is a conscious. He's a conscious person, he is unconscious, etc. So conscious person, unconscious person, etc. So basically conscious is used to, the consciousness is used as an adjective, attribute to the person, let's say. And therefore, basically when you say an attribute, definitely you require a substantive. No attribute can stand independent of the substantive. And therefore, what in the language they use word consciousness, etc., that is generally not an independent entity. And that is how even the scientist also says consciousness is an attribute of the brain. That's how they say. They don't accept mind, but they say this much, that consciousness is an attribute of the brain. And language also sometimes proves like this. So basically, anyway, so generally it is considered as an attribute. And like tallness, tallness is an attribute associated with the person. Tallness cannot exist independent of the person. Same way conscious person, unconscious person, when you say the consciousness, as though it is used as an adjective, and it resides in a person, it resides in a brain, etc., etc. But that's not correct. Consciousness is an independent entity. How do you say? Refer those 5 points of yesterday. Therefore, consciousness is independent, not dependent on body, not dependent on experience, not dependent on thought, not dependent on object, anything. Now, 2 things I will tell you. Consciousness needs a body. Consciousness needs a thought for expression. Consciousness does not need thought, body, object for existence. For existence, it doesn't need all these things. For expression, it needs everything. I will give you an example. Electricity. Electricity needs a bulb for expression. Electricity does not need bulb for existence. It's independent. Could you follow? So our answer to the scientist is this. Whether he agrees or not, that's not our botheration. But consciousness is not an attribute of the brain. If it is an attribute of the brain, attribute is always dependent upon the substantive. And therefore, consciousness, if it is attribute, it is dependent on the brain. We say consciousness is independent of the brain, independent of the thought, independent of the body, independent of the object. But consciousness definitely needs body, thought, etc. for expression, for manifestation. So existence, people think that, well, if brain does not function, therefore consciousness has died. Because consciousness is an attribute of the brain, and brain does not function. If brain dead, means consciousness dead. No, consciousness does not express. Now, electricity is not dead. Electricity is it is there, existent. But if bulb is not functioning, bulb has gone, I mean it's out of order, then electricity cannot manifest. That's all it is. Why I am discussing is, we sometimes, because under the spell of science, sometimes we may forget that what we have learned. That's what, so this is the difference between a science and us, is this. They consider as an attribute, and if it is attribute, it is dependent on the brain, dependent on the gross body, let us say. For them it is a only gross body, there is no subtle body, they don't accept. So consciousness is dependent upon the gross body, it's an attribute of the brain. Well, we say consciousness is independent entity. They argue, if brain is dead, where is your consciousness? Well, we say consciousness cannot manifest. But what is unmanifest is not dead. Unmanifest is unmanifest. That's how it is. Unmanifest butter. Remember in your yogurt, unmanifest. It is unmanifest, it is there. You can manifest it. Yeah. If it is dead, if it is totally non-existent, you will not get butter. So what is unmanifest? Since you are not able to experience, and you will not be able to experience by even your instruments, and therefore you consider it as a dead. So brain dead means consciousness is dead. Consciousness is gone. No. Consciousness cannot express itself. If bulb is gone, bulb is dead, then electricity cannot express. That's how it is. But electricity is not dead. And you can check in the wire. If you want to check, you can check it very well. It is very much there. So consciousness expressed as a life, well, depends on body-mind complex. The expression in form of a life, well, for that consciousness needs body-mind sense complex. But consciousness does not need body-mind sense complex for its existence. It is independent. It is independent compared to matter. Now one step further. Vedanta does not stop here. One step further is, matter depends on the fundamental substance, or that is consciousness, Chaitanya. Matter is not independent. They say consciousness is dependent on matter, brain. We say matter is dependent on consciousness. Matter is mithya, right? And therefore, basically, this is an entirely ulta. Anyway, but we have finished this. Jivatma Swarupam is independent consciousness which is present in all the states in a given day, and tadvat dinantare, in a same way you extend next day, etc. also. So thoughts are many, objects are many, perceptions are many, but consciousness in all the experiences, in all the perceptions, in all the states, and perception for all the states, well, it is same, including perception in a deep sleep state. Right? We have already proved experience in a deep sleep state. Perception in a deep sleep state, if you cannot appreciate, experience in a deep sleep state. What are we experiencing? Ignorance. What are we experiencing? Ananda. Well, therefore experience is there. Experience is there, consciousness is there, definitely. Okay, let's go to this verse number 7. Masabda yuga kalpeshu gata gammeshvane kadha nodeti nastameti metyeka samvidesha swayam prabha. And then he extends further. Abdaha masa. Masa means a month. Not only next day, on dinantare. Next day it is the same consciousness. No. Masaha. or month, abda, year, yuga, a bigger duration of time, bigger unit of time. And then how many years? Masa means month, abda means year, yuga means how many years? 4,32,000 years. Okay? So it remains same. But Swamiji, body will die. Let it die. I told you. If body dies, consciousness will not get expressed. Don't worry. But next body will be there, then again it will express. So it will be there. All the time consciousness is there. Consciousness exists all the time. He is going in the direction of proving Chit is Sat. And then Ananda also is coming. Anyway, so very methodically he will prove Jivatma is Satchidananda. Jivatma is consciousness, that is not. Jivatma is Satchidananda he wants to prove. Just logically. And in 8 verses, that's all. Verse 6, 7 or 8 verses, that's all, is enough. What that's all, that's all. But this is how it is. This is how it is. In 7 or 8 verses, amazing. I mean, this Acharya is just amazing Acharya. Years and years we are not able to understand this Satchidananda. I am Satchidananda. He is proving in 8 verses. Just 8 verses. He has not taken any help of Upanishad. Understand that. Not taken any help of Upanishad. It is all based on Upanishad. But he will not just quote any Upanishad. I have already told you, Prakarana Grantha means a logical understanding is required. For that, the purpose of the Prakarana is this: interpretational doubts, logical doubts. How can I be a Satchidananda? Okay, now analyze your own experiences and you will arrive at. You cannot arrive other than that. If you go this Avasthatraya analysis of 3 states of experience properly, you will arrive at this. What? I am Satchidananda. That's all. So, what Upanishad has not done the job. That job is done by the Prakaranas. A logical doubts are there. How can I be Satchidananda, etc. Well, anyway, so Yuga means 4,32,000 years. That's a Kali. Then Dwapara has a double. So 8,64,000 years. And then, our Treta has 3 times of the Kali. And Krita Yuga has 4 times. I am not going into it. Is 43 lakhs 20,000 years. Manchatur Yuga. And that is how it is. So, Kalpeshu. A Kalpa means a day in a Brahmaji's life, creator life. A day in a Brahmaji's life is Kalpa, that is 2000 Chatur Yuga. So, 2000 into 43 lakhs 20,000 years. Till then, this Samvit, Eka. Go day by day. Don't take immediately lakhs of years. Go day by day. And in a day, you divide these 3 states. And then analyze all the 3 states. Experience of 3 states. You find the consciousness is one alone. All the time, one alone. And all variations you are finding, that variations are of objects and thoughts. If objects are many, thoughts will be many. If thoughts are many, the experiences will be many. But basically the consciousness which illumines all these thoughts and objects is one alone. That's how it is. So, Kalpeshu. So, it is said, Masabda Yuga Kalpeshu. Whether it is a month, whether it is a year, whether it is a Yuga, whether it is a Kalpa. Well, Gata Gammeshu, Anekadha Gata Gammeshu. Many such Yugas have gone by. Gatam. Have gone by. Agammeshu are going to come. So, in and through, well, of course, past and future, in manifold manner, well, Anekadha, in manifold manner where they come, whether they have gone, yugas, or whether they will come, objects change, experience is changing, thoughts are changing, bodies are changing, minds are changing, senses are changing, all let them change. Everything let them change. But a consciousness is one alone. That's how it is. So thoughts corresponding, of course, will be different. But illumining consciousness is one alone. Therefore he says, Naudeti. Well, consciousness have no beginning. Consciousness does not rise. Udeti means, like we say, Suryaha Udeti. Right? Sun rises. Astameti. Suryasta we say like that. Suryodaya, Suryasta. So sun rises and sun sets. Same way consciousness rises, consciousness sets. No, na udeti. So thought rises. Now you can understand. If you are able to appreciate what I have already told you in Kenopanishad, whatever is inert, whatever is object of knowledge, they arise, they set, they temporary, right? We have already seen also. They come and go. Bodies come and go. Thoughts come and go. Objects come and go. Let them come and go. So bodies will be there, thought will be there, consciousness gets expressed. If it is not there, well, it does not get expressed. But there will not be any question of existence of consciousness. What will happen? No. Put a new bulb and automatically you will find. So it is right there. Electricity is right there. Same way, give a new body. Fine. Or new thought arises. Well, again consciousness manifests. Na udeti nastameti. This verse is very, very popular. Whenever you say that I am studying Pancadasi, and if he knows little bit, he will quote immediately this verse number 7. Na udeti nastameti eka samvit. Samvit eka, this consciousness is one alone, undivided consciousness. Well, definitely. And samvit esha swayam prabha, swayam prakash. It is self-revealing, self-evident, which does not require any proof. That's all. Swayam prabha means which does not require any proof for its existence. So it is self-proven. Everything else is proved by consciousness. Anything can be proved to be existence when it is known, right? Anything can be proved to be existence when it is known. And anything which is known without consciousness, you cannot know anything. And therefore, there is imagine, I am telling you one thing now. Imagine there is a object not knowable by anybody at any time, whether that object exists or not. I will ask you once again. Imagine that there is an object which is not experienced by anybody at any time, not even in the future, not in the past, not in the present, and by anybody. Even in the future, any generation comes. But suppose a object is there which is never experienced, never known by anybody at any time. How will you prove the existence of that object? It is not there. It is not there. It is not there. I will tell you. These two horns in my head. Two horns in my head. Nobody in the past has proved. Nobody in the future can prove. Nobody can in the present can prove. Whether I go to go to India, whether I come to United States, whether I go to any place, Germany, where I go to Alaska, nobody can prove this. Nobody can know. Let us say prove. Keep it aside. Nobody can know the horns on my head. Means what? They don't exist. So existence is always proved by knowability. And to know an object, what you require is consciousness. And therefore, okay, then how consciousness existence is proved? That's what we are saying. Consciousness existence is proved by itself. This proving I am going to negate, because this is a Buddhas. We are Vedantis. I am going to make it separate. But right now, keep it. Consciousness is proved by itself. It doesn't require any other thing for a proof. So existence of the consciousness is proved by the consciousness itself. No, but still, okay, then you have to imagine another consciousness. If you want to prove the existence of this consciousness should be known by other consciousness, right? It should be ultimately knowability only is there for proving the existence. Without knowing anything, you cannot prove the existence. And therefore, definitely, if you want to prove the existence of this consciousness, you require that some other consciousness should know this consciousness. It is anavastha dosha. I am going to discuss about 4 doshas are there. In this chapter it will come. There are 4 doshas in the Shastra. One of that is anavastha. We are going to discuss in a length. So one of that is anavastha. infinite regression. You can never arrive at the ultimate thing. That consciousness also will be, again you will say, how will we prove that consciousness? Then again knowability. And definitely to prove the existence, basically you require, I mean, it should become an object of your knowledge. So condition for the existence of any object is knowability, and anything becomes knowable because of consciousness. So to prove the existence of anything, it depends upon consciousness, but to prove the existence of the consciousness, consciousness has to know itself. There is no way out, and therefore that is called self-revealing. Consciousness reveals itself, and therefore what is self-revealing is self-existent. So consciousness proves its existence because it is self-revealing, and therefore that is how it is been told in the Shastra, Manadhina Meya Siddhihi. There is a dictum in the Shastra which says that everything is proven by consciousness, and who proves the existence of consciousness? Well, definitely other things cannot prove the existence of consciousness, because consciousness proves their existence. So objects cannot prove the existence of consciousness, but consciousness is proven by itself. Consciousness is known by itself because it is self-revealing, and therefore proven by itself. Now there is a big problem, because proof, and we have never seen a one who proves and what is proved are one thing. We have never seen. You see, Swamiji, I am proving my point. I am proving my point. Yeah, but you are different and your point is different. And therefore, if consciousness is proved by itself, then there is a big problem. Therefore, if we accept this statement, we will go to Bauddhas. We should not. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. We have